Welcome to Dig It, a real estate podcast by Hubbell Realty Company. All right, welcome back, everyone. It's been a while since we've had a podcast, I guess you could say, a episode of Dig It, a real estate podcast by Hubbell Realty Company. Super excited to be back in these chairs and in the Amplified Des Moines studio. And joining me today, we're starting off the month of August featuring all of our amazing organizations who are going to benefit from this year's Hubbell Extreme Charity Golf Classic and on August 21st. Thank you guys for coming so much. I have Erica Eichrin and Libby Peterson with Alzheimer's Association of Iowa. You're one of our organizations. Welcome, guys.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you so much for being here and sharing a little bit of what you and Alzheimer's Association mission is all about. Before we get into a little bit of background on what you both do, Dig It is officially launching today through the rest of the year. It's so good. We took a little hiatus there, kicking off with some really great organizations. Like I said, Alzheimer's Association, On With Life, and Easter Seals, Iowa, who are all benefiting from this year's extreme golf outing later in the month. But really, the rest of the year is going to be hyper-focused on our development and construction projects. We have a ton of really, really cool communities and developments that we're going to dive into and really take a harder look at some of the real estate market in general, both here and out in Omaha, Nebraska, where we have a lot of projects kicking off. So you're going to see some really big names, which is very exciting for us. You're going to see some familiar faces, which is always fun to bring people back on the podcast who have been with us before. We even have a new book that we're launching, which I can't say much more about at the moment. So you're just going to have to wait till that podcast drops to get more information. But for today, back to the important people in the room, Alzheimer's Association. Erica Eichrin, you are the Iowa Program Manager, correct?
Yes.
And Libby, you are a support group leader and a community educator. Mm-hmm. Erica, will you start us off with a little bit of what you do for the Alzheimer's Association?
Sure. So my role for the Iowa chapter of the Alzheimer's Association is to help manage all of the requests that we have for presentations throughout all of the communities that we serve. So we do serve the 99 counties in Iowa, but we also have one county in South Dakota and 5 in Illinois that are part of our Iowa chapter. So I work with all of our amazing volunteers, such as Libby. So when I get a request in her area, I will ask if she's available to present. Otherwise, I do presentations as well. And also I help facilitate, support our 62 support groups that we have for our Iowa chapter.
Holy smokes, yeah. 62.
Yes. Really proud to say that we are, there for people that need us in a lot of our communities. And we're able to really extend our reach because we do have several of our groups have become virtual as well. So even those living in rural communities where they don't have a in-person support group, they still have an option for a virtual support group. So I like telling people that I support the support group leaders. And I absolutely love that.
We all need support.
Yeah. Yes. And I appreciate her. I know that.
I bet you do. Libby, tell us a little bit more about what that means, support group leader and community educator.
So I'll start off with the support group leader role. So what I do is I actually helped co-launch this with Erica. Once a month, the third Wednesday of each month, I virtually host a young adult support caregiver group that is primarily focused on kind of the younger generation who is taking care of their parents or grandparents or older loved ones that are dealing with Alzheimer's and dementia. And that is a virtual support group. And it's been going fantastically. And I should also mention it takes place from 6:30 to 7:30 Central Time on those Wednesdays. But it's great that it is virtual because we can expand even beyond the state of Iowa. We've had people from Texas, Arizona, California, Florida come together for these support groups. And, we talk about a range of topics, just whether, it's general support or questions about financing, questions about tough conversations that you have to have with your loved ones, kind of when it reaches that time, about different resources for care for them. So that's kind of the support group role. And then as a community educator, I go to different areas throughout, mostly Des Moines, but surrounding areas as well, and educate the community on different topics that relate to Alzheimer's and dementia. So whether that's the top 10 warning signs, we have different education topics on financing and things of that nature. So I'll go out and just kind of discuss that and give them resources and tools and information on how to address that.
Yeah, and I think that I want to share some stats before we get too into the weeds on some of these, fantastic resources and other things that are going on, under the Alzheimer's Iowa umbrella. But in Iowa, 62,000 people are living with Alzheimer's, 80,000 caregivers, and this is the stat that I was like, is this real? 118 million hours of unpaid care. That is staggering to me. Each of those stats, I think, has a little bit of added weight to it. So, I mean, I think that people maybe drastically underestimate the impact that Alzheimer's has on just our state in general.
Mm-hmm. And it impacts not only, the person that is going through dementia, that is traveling through that journey, but, their community around them. So their family, their friends, and the ripple effect that it has. It is staggering.
Well, so how did you two get started in Alzheimer's? What brought you to the positions that you're in today, knowing that stat and knowing kind of your role with the association today? But how'd you get started?
For me, it was very personal. In 2004, my dad was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, and then later came a dementia diagnosis. And so I had a thirst for knowledge and went out to find all the information and resources that I could. The thing that I find interesting is I told my mom about support groups, but the closest one I could find for her at the time was an hour away. And she said, I can't afford to drive an hour in the car for an hour support group and then drive an hour home. I can't leave your dad for 3 hours. And so, when we talk about that unpaid care, a lot of caregivers want to keep their loved one in the home as long as possible. They want them to be independent as long as possible. But we know over time that taking care of someone, it takes a village. You can't do it alone. Yeah. And that's why we have all the wonderful resources that we have. But my mom did a wonderful job taking care of my dad. He passed in 2014. And then, thank you. And then unfortunately, my mom was diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment, early signs of dementia in 21. And I was her primary caregiver at that time and very honored to do so. And she passed in August of 23. So I'm here, long story short, because I'm very passionate about the cause. I have that personal experience of taking care of both of my parents. And when I did my first walk to end Alzheimer's in 2013, I just caught the bug, and I loved the sense of community, the sea of people in purple. I loved the mission and the cause of the organization. So I became a walk planning volunteer in 2015 and did that through 23. Okay. And then after my mother passed in 23, I thought, I want to do more. Yeah. And so I've been the program manager for the Iowa chapter for the last year and a half, and it's been the most wonderful thing.
I love that. I mean, I'm sorry it took the loss in the, again, 118 million hours of unpaid care. It's like it's just outstanding to me. But what about you, Libby?
So it's very personal to me as well. My dad was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's in the fall of 2016. I was living in Chicago at the time. And, to Erica's point, we kept him in the home as long as possible. And in about 2020, we eventually had to move him into a care facility. And that was kind of the jump off for me to move home. I'm his only kid. Yeah. So, I wanted to be here to support him and help him navigate this journey. So he actually just recently passed away within the last week.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So, but it was, it was a long 10-year battle. He was a fighter. Yeah. So I wanted to be there, for him. And volunteering with the Alzheimer's Association has given me a huge sense of clarity And I wanted to know more, that thirst for knowledge that Erica talks about.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I wanted.
Excuse me.
That was exactly what I wanted. I wanted to know everything that I could so that I could show up for my dad every day and give him the care that he so deserved.
Yeah. Wow. And what was your dad's name?
His name was Merle Peterson.
Merle. I love
Yes.
that. I love that. Well, this episode can be for him too, and maybe we can do a little something special at the upcoming golf outing too. And is he a golfer? Oh, really?
Huge golfer.
Oh, for real?
Oh, gosh, yes. We're planning on having his celebration of life at his favorite golf course, Wakanda.
Oh, of course, yes.
So, yes, he was a member
that's
there
fun.
for many years. And I have gotten so many emails from people that used to golf with him
Yeah.
in the past week
I'm sure.
that are like, we want to make sure that we're there. And so we're basically having a celebration of life on a golf course.
I love that. Well, okay, that's perfect then. That's absolutely perfect. Oh, well, and I think every time I ask, how did you get involved? How did you get started? It's always tied back to a personal story of some sort for someone. I know that at least within our organization, that's what drew us to Alzheimer's Association of Iowa, to make sure that we could benefit the organization this year is a very personal tie. Another parent, I think, in that care and that continued care is something that I know we get to somewhat secondhand experience through the care at Highmark Senior Living in our Edencrest senior communities. We have about 10 of them throughout Iowa, and they all have, almost all of them have a memory care wing. And that's really dedicated to that, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia, continued care. And I know it's hard for people to take that next step going from home into, that care that's no longer just you. But it's nice to have that continued support as well. And it's
Absolutely.
critical.
Yeah. And that's a lot of the conversations that, we have, especially during the young adult caregiver support group, because that transition is very hard. And it's hard to kind of turn into the parent for your parent and have those conversations with them, kind of leading them down that road to a better resource.
Right. And that deciding factor of when a change needs to happen is different for everyone. For me personally, it was a matter of safety.
Yeah.
When I knew that my mom was a fall risk and knowing that maybe I couldn't get her back up off the floor if she fell, to me, that was a very big deciding factor. Yeah. And it is different for everyone, but it's really special when I can hear spouses and children saying about their loved ones that when I made that decision to put them in a care facility, it was hard, but afterwards I got to go back to being the wife and not the caregiver. And because being the caregiver takes more of the precedent or forefront than being the wife, and there's so much stress that goes along with that. And so a lot of people do have such a sense of relief when they say, I can just go back to being the wife now.
And just show that love.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because they need you to show up in numerous forms, not just the caregiver form, right?
Right.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about support services and some of those free resources or just resources in general. I don't think people realize how many resources are out there, and it can be a little bit overwhelming. I'm sure you both can attest to get started. You say, I want to learn something, and you learn more than you could ever imagine. What are some of the education programs or, maybe a 24/7 helpline, things of that nature that you really want more Iowans to know about and take advantage of?
Absolutely. I think the very first thing that I tell people is become very familiar with our 1-800 helpline, and that's 1-800-272-3900. I'm very proud to say that they are available 24/7, 365 days a year. They're all master level clinicians that are answering the phone. So you're talking with a therapist, a nurse, a social worker who is very well versed and educated on the topic. And they will take as long as they need to do what they call a care consultation with you. And I always tell people, no question is too small or too silly. You can call them anytime with just a simple question of, it's 3 a.m, my loved one is pacing up and down the hallway, I can't get them to go back to bed, I've tried this, this, and this, what else would you recommend? That's usually those times that you need it. I utilized it a lot with both of my parents to get referrals and resources. Tell me a doctor you'd recommend. Tell me an in-home care provider that you would recommend. That was really beneficial to me from a Helpline perspective.
Mm-hmm. And I think our online resource finder is one that I always direct during my support group. Those that attend, I always direct them there as well. So if they're looking for doctors, if they're looking for facilities to potentially house their loved ones in, I always say, hey, go there, do your research, see what's the best fit for you. So I always direct people to that as well. And then we also have a great app that we just launched as well.
Really? Okay, slick. Tell me more.
At the end of April, we launched a brand new app that's called My All's Journey.
My All's Journey.
Anyone can go to their, Google Play Store, Apple Store, and download it for free. And it is a really great resource to take you through that experience of, I feel that there's a concern. My loved one's just been diagnosed. What do I do now? I feel like that's a question we get a lot is, I'm new to this. I don't know what to do. How do I best care for my loved one? And it really helps to take them through that journey. It gives them resources, and it really tailors the experience to what they personally need. So a really great resource. And then as Libby mentioned, the online resource that we have is very simple. You just go to communityresourcefinder.org. Okay. It's a website we have in partnership with AARP. You put in your zip code and you can look for upcoming educations, local support groups, virtual support groups, specialist type of doctors, in-home care services, skilled nursing facilities, just a wide variety of resources on that website as well.
Well, and we're going to link all of these in our show notes too. So if anyone's furiously writing any of these down, you're going to get a clickable link.
Get a
go to the show notes, click it.
Yes.
It'll take you right there. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Can you guys tell us a little bit more about, you kind of went there a little bit, Erica, the calls that you do receive and, how those resources help in real time. I mean, I think that was a great example of one, but these are virtual classes. They are, it is an app. So really anywhere at any time, because we know that there is no, open hours on some of these instances.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of examples that I can certainly pick out from during my support group, but, I know that there have been a lot of questions around bringing maybe a nurse in for 3 days a week or something into the home because, like we've said, it's a hard transition for somebody to want to leave their home and have that conversation.
I would naturally want to do the same.
Oh, I said the same thing. I was like, I wouldn't want to leave my home either, but... if you can get somebody in there part-time, I have a lot of conversations with individuals about that. And again, utilizing our resource finder, because they're qualified, know that they have experience with this and they can be trusted. So that's a question that gets brought up a lot for me, or just utilizing that resource finder for different facilities in their area. Because unfortunately, I mean, a lot of the younger generation that I work with in my support group, they're just not as familiar with the resources that are out there. So they do a quick Google search. Yeah. And that doesn't always land you with the most qualified individuals. So that's why I always say, please utilize the resources that the Alzheimer's Association has. They're there for you and they're qualified.
Yeah.
And I think a great thing, too, based on the type of calls that we get, we really try to take that, those trends and that feedback to develop other educations and programming that'll benefit people. So right now, we're actually, in the month of July, having what we call a Valuable Expert Training Series, or VETS, in which we're covering topics that have come up from people who've called into the helpline. For example, we've talked about our resources. We've given people education about conservatorship, guardianship, how to manage finances. Coming up actually tomorrow, we're in the future, so delete that.
We are in the future. That's okay. That's okay. Don't worry. Again, all of these resources we're going to link out to, you're going to be able to see any upcoming into the late summer and fall.
Right.
I know it's weird, isn't it?
It is weird.
It is.
If you go to alt.org/CRF for Community Resource Finder,
perfect.
You can find what we call our monthly virtual education series. And so we really try to tailor those topics based on what feedback we get as far as what are people asking most about, what do they need. And so, for example, coming up on August 21st, we're going to cover our Understanding Alzheimer's and Dementia course, and then we're going to get more into the types of dementia that affect Iowans and just talking more about those resources that we have available. So we're constantly trying to take that feedback and make things more, just little bite-sized pieces of information to help people not feel so overwhelmed.
Yeah, and as a company who has a senior property management division and 10 senior care communities, which goes assisted living, independent living, into memory care. Those types of resources are so phenomenal for us to be able to share with the families who have leaned into us for support, or maybe reached out to say, okay, I want to know more about Edencrest, but I'm not really sure if my loved one's ready for it yet. Those are all things that we attempt to then share back to say, okay, here are some of the partners that we know and appreciate and trust. Again, the trust factor is huge here, and hopefully that can be a helpful next step in helping them find a place. But that's amazing to take that real-time feedback and do good with it in general.
Exactly.
Yeah.
What other trends are you both seeing in Alzheimer's or dementia in the care, or just as you look out at the rest of the year into next year? What are some trends? And they can be alarming ones too, I'm sure. But yeah.
I think one thing that we're starting to see that I think is absolutely amazing is as we spread awareness and more education is out there based on what we're doing from a research perspective, I love that people are starting to learn more about the science behind the treatments and the research. So, for example, for probably about the last year and a half, almost 2 years, there has been a blood biomarker test that's been available that helps geriatricians, neurologists in the diagnosing process for Alzheimer's, which is amazing because whenever I do an education, I say to people, okay, here's some of the things that could happen to get diagnosed. The very first thing that should be happening is for someone that is age 65 or older, when they get their annual Medicare wellness visit, they should be getting a mini cognitive assessment done by their primary care physician. And I always tell them, if you're not getting that, please ask for it, even if you don't have memory-related concerns, because it's good to have that benchmark in your file so that next time you come in or 5 years down the road, they've got that great comparison of information, because it really is about early detection and diagnosis, because we've gotten better in the diagnostic process that I say to people, would you rather have a spinal tap or a simple blood test to tell if you have certain genetic markers that put you at a higher risk of Alzheimer's? Yeah. No one ever says spinal tap, right?
Nobody wants to do that.
No.
And so,
can't imagine.
Yeah. And so when we look at that, for those that we can diagnose with what we call early stage Alzheimer's. If we can catch it soon enough, that's the really key part. There are amazing IV treatments that have come out in the last couple of years that are helping to slow the progression of the disease.
Wow.
They're removing those bad proteins or webs, plaques, and tangles from the brain, which essentially is keeping them at the early stage for a longer period of time. It's giving them a better quality of life. And the hope is, as the research continues to take off and improve, that maybe that person that's getting those treatments and staying in the early stage longer, maybe by the time they do progress to mid-stage, there's something else better out there, or there's another treatment, right?
The gift of time.
Yeah,
yes, exactly.
I know that we talk a lot about facts and figures, and those things can be a little depressing, but I like to give people hope when we talk about treatments, that the key is understanding the warning signs, talking to your doctor before it's too late, and getting that early diagnosis if it really is dementia, because the treatments out there are really helping to change the progression of the disease.
So say that I ask for the test.
Yeah, make sure that if you're 65 and older, ask for a mini cognitive assessment. It is covered by Medicare.
Great.
And even if you fall into a situation where you're not 65 and you're seeing concerns, still bring it up to your doctor.
Advocate.
And advocate, absolutely. Because, it's really key to understand those risk warning signs, and don't wait till it's too late. A lot of families will say, we saw warning signs for a year or two or more, and we just weren't sure. And now that we know that it really is Alzheimer's, we wish we had done something sooner. So, don't wait.
Yeah. And I think my dad is kind of a testament to that. We caught it very early on.
Yeah.
And he lived a very, very long life, 10 years after diagnoses.
Yeah.
So, and he was in that early stage for a long time because we caught it quick.
Yeah.
I mean, we caught it early on.
Better safe than sorry, right?
Absolutely.
That's kind of the old-timey saying that it's true. It's like, oh, well, I don't really want to do this. You drag your feet, you say hem ha. You're not going to regret it, especially if you get to have a little bit more time.
Right.
Yeah.
Clarity.
And that's not an old-timey saying. That's new age. That's forever.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
I think that one will probably be with me forever. But
Our updated facts and figures that came out in April of this year, they did poll those that they surveyed, and they said that 90% of Americans would want to know about treatments and would want access to those treatments if available. So we just need to make sure that people are, like I said, catching it soon enough so that they can have access to those treatments.
one of those links we'll put in there is maybe those 10 early warning signs, right? Is that a good one?
That would be
to,
great.
Absolutely.
Throw in there and just make sure that people read through it.
Yes.
Even if you don't want to. It's face facts. Well, let's talk about how companies like Hubbell, support really just lifts up all of your missions and all of your stories, and how people can get involved, maybe even beyond, general donations. How can we integrate your resources to better support our associates, our trade, our partners? We work with 100 trade partners. And so, our web is, we call it sphere of influence is very large. And so we want to make sure that we're supporting everyone that we can. So how can we better do that?
Yeah. So I think, in this last year, we had about 145 different organizations within our chapter that we formed unique partnerships with. And that could be a community organization such as a senior center. It could be a care facility. It's a hospital setting. It's a ladies group that gets together for coffee once a month. So we get a wide variety of requests for presentations, which I think is absolutely amazing. And so what I would recommend is if someone wants to get involved, they can do as little as being a day of volunteer. So we have our Walk to End Alzheimer's coming up.
Let's not say it's little, because
okay, it is.
You're doing a lot.
It's a big
It is,
right?
It is big.
Yes.
It is big.
It's
Yes. So on Saturday, September 27th, we're having our Walk to End Alzheimer's in Des Moines.
Yep.
It's at Principal Park. And so like I said, you could start by being a day of walk volunteer, helping to set up, helping to get people registered and through the line, giving out T-shirts, those kind of things. Mm-hmm. And then it can get into bigger things such as being a part of the walk planning committee. Mm-hmm. We have different fundraising galas throughout the state that you could be a part of, the same thing, day of or planning committee. You can make a commitment like Libby does of being a monthly support group facilitator in your area. You can help do community educations in your area, especially those of you listening in the rural areas. We need more of you. So
Let's
Libby,
go rural Iowa. We're
Yeah,
always
that's
there.
right.
exactly.
I'm waving at, I live in a town of 1,700, and I'm like, let's go.
Exactly. Yep. So yeah, lots of ways that you can get involved. But anything you'd want to add to that, Libby? Yeah.
No, I think you covered most of it. Of course, the fundraising aspect is always fantastic too. Even like personally, one year for my birthday, what I did is instead of throwing a big usual birthday bash, I did a fundraising event, and all the donations went back to the Alzheimer's Association. So even doing something that's more personal and maybe not directly linked to an event that we have or an education event that we have, you can do something on your own like that as well.
I still think it's education, right?
It is.
Especially,
It's right. That's right.
It takes
Yes.
it takes kind of a leap of faith to say, okay, I'm going to share this, intimate part of what I'm experiencing as, an only child, but as a caregiver. but in turn, your sphere of influence, who maybe didn't know Merle was going through this, you then taught them something. So you're still educating your groups and your,
Yes. And finding, common ground in supporting a really important cause.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And through the amazing partnerships that we have with Hubbell and other organizations, through those donations and fundraising efforts, that's what allows us to go out into all of the communities that we serve and give those educations for free, to have free support groups. So that, that comes a large in part due to that fundraiser. So we're very thankful to have those opportunities to partner and have those funds available to be able to provide so many services to people in our state.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you mentioned Walk to End Alzheimer's. That's, again, Saturday, September 21st.
September 27th.
7th. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Dates today. 21st. That's because the Hubbell Extreme Charity Golf Classic is August 21st.
August 21st.
There we go.
Yes.
That's where it came
Lots
from.
of events coming
Oh,
up.
Exactly.
goodness.
Have
So
fun
many.
2 weekends in a row.
So many events. We're so proud to support you guys and all of the work that you're doing. Again, it's very, very meaningful to us, given all of our Edencrest communities throughout Cenral Iowa. So many people depend on what you do. So we're looking forward to the golf tournament.
Yes.
It is kind of a double shotgun day. So we've got a 7:30 group that kicks off and a 1 p.m. group.
I would be in the 1 p.m.
Me too.
Not a morning person? What? You guys aren't morning people? You're kind of here in the morning. This is semi-morning.
Yeah. True.
But I mean, how do you think events like that help move the mission forward? Obviously, you maybe get in front of audiences that you wouldn't generally get in front of, and maybe you even have people who are experiencing something where they're like, I need more information, but I just am not sure I'm ready to dive into my own research. I mean, how do some of these events help?
Oh, absolutely. So I know at this event, hopefully we'll be able to bring materials and to spread awareness in that manner.
Oh, absolutely.
On a small scale. So someone who maybe doesn't have the courage to call and ask a question or to come to a support group, just seeing us there and having that awareness, I think, is a great start. Mm-hmm. We always have brochures and information that pertains to different topics that can be quite challenging for caregivers, such as how do I manage dementia-related behaviors that could occur, or I have a loved one that wanders, and how do I, help to lessen that, those kind of things. So, yes, I think it's just being that presence there, and knowing that there's resources available, and helping them to understand what is the impact of their donation that they're making that day, and how are we utilizing those services. So I think that can be very beneficial to someone to understand that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think putting a face to the organization at events like this is incredibly important. It makes it less scary in a lot of ways, much more approachable of a conversation to have, because it is a scary conversation for a lot of people. So I think that having, to your point, that presence there is really valuable.
And I always tell people, if you're not, this is a big event that you're at, you're here to golf, right?
Right.
But I always make sure that we have plenty of information about our local resources. So if they want to call and have a one-on-one conversation with me later, they want to stop by the office in West Des Moines where we're located, we're always here to help in any way.
Yeah.
Yep. And they can call me too anytime.
a
Morning, noon,
bother.
or night, never a bother. That's right.
And so if people go out to our community resource finder and they find an education or a support group, usually there is not registration that is required. They can just show up. And, it's really interesting, with our virtual support groups like Libby's, for example, is someone might join, and the first time they join, they don't turn their camera on and they don't say anything.
Yeah.
But you know that they're there.
Yes.
And you may refer to them once just to say, Sally, I see that you're on the call.
Yeah.
Do you want to speak or not?
I see you.
Yeah.
Right. I see
but
you,
sometimes
right?
they just want to listen and learn, because it is a vulnerable space.
One small step.
Absolutely. No pressure. And maybe the next time they speak or the next time they turn their camera on, maybe they don't come back because they got what they needed. But it's just great that we try to meet people where they are.
Yeah. And those support groups, I mean, I guess in relation to mine specifically, have been incredibly valuable. Especially, I can think of a few individuals that I keep in contact with, even outside of those third Wednesdays of each month. You know, if they have a question or if they're just having a hard time, I tell them, you know, reach out to me directly. I am here to support you. We're here to support each other. You can ask me anything, or you can just, you know, spill the beans about what's going on that day.
Whatever you need.
Whatever you need.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to list off a few other stats, and please correct me since you said you have some April ones that came out as well. So if I'm outdated in any way, I'm going to list off some other stats for people who've tuned in today and listened as we wind things down here. 1 in 5 women are diagnosed with Alzheimer's. This is Iowa, correct? Iowa specific, I believe.
It is Iowa specific, but it's also U.S.
U.S. specific. Okay.
The 1 in 5 is more nationwide.
Nationwide. 1 in 10 men over 45 are at risk. Over 7 million in the United States are at risk, and 2/3 of those are women, right? If it maths out. And then by 2030, all of what we would quote unquote the boomer generation, right? Those 65 plus. All the boomer generation will be 65 plus by 2030. There's where I was headed. and that really does impact not only, you know, Alzheimer's and some of those stats and those rates, but also just senior care in general.
Absolutely.
Will we have enough, and how are we going to, you know, meet the need? I know on the Edencrest side of things, on the memory care, you know, they're always touting the fact that, you know, you have that assistance at the ready. You have a secured area where you can, you know, the wandering, you have the support that you need and the people checking in on you. I know they do this cool thing in Edencrest communities. They put shadow boxes outside of people's doors.
Oh, yes.
And so that way they, whether it's the resident or the family, can decorate those boxes.
Yeah.
And it gives them a little bit of an idea and
Personal
say,
touch.
Oh, there's my dog, you know, there's my dog, there's my grandkids, or whatever you want to put in there. And
I love that.
Yeah. I think
them
my dad
remember
was
that's
always
the
more
door.
excited to see my dog sometimes than
yeah.
me. But animals truly are a form of therapy. So.
Right. 100% agree with you.
Yeah, and I
with
think
you on that.
It just helps people to identify, or even the resident who obviously, if they're not having such a great day, they might still recognize what's in that shadow box and say, "Oh, this is my room."
Yeah, exactly.
Like you said, helps cut down on that wandering. But no, I think it's wonderful. You know, just to know those stats and resources. And what I tell people when I do education is I say, yes, people are living longer, which is an amazing thing. Life expectancy has gone up. Mm-hmm. So when we talk about the 1 in 5 for women and the 1 in 10 for men, I ask people, why do you think that is? And sometimes I'll get fun comments, you know, of wives that'll say to their husbands and such. But in truth, it's just that when you look at it statistically, women have a longer life expectancy than men. Yeah. And that's why it's 1 in 5 for women and 1 in 5 for men. But yes, we currently have about 7.2 million people in the United States living with Alzheimer's disease.
Wow.
And unfortunately, that number will grow because life expectancy is higher. Yeah. So another thing that I love to talk to people about is we do a whole presentation called Healthy Living for Your Brain and Body. Yeah. And we really focus on prevention. There are 3 things that we can't change. We can't change our age, we can't change our genetics, and we can't change, some of our environment. But what we can try to change is, how much do we challenge our brain to learn new things?
Yeah.
Are we staying socially active in our communities, which is so good for our brains? Are we eating right and exercising? I always tell people, know your numbers. And by that, I mean, know your cholesterol, know your blood pressure, and know your blood sugar. Because as long as you're keeping those in a normal range, whether that's through diet, exercise, medication, et cetera, that helps to keep your risk down, significantly. So it's really... focusing on those preventative things too before we get to the age of 65. Yeah. And so that's why when people think, oh, I don't need to worry about that, it's just more of an older person disease. It's not true, because science has shown that biological changes can be happening in the brain 18 to 20 years before we start showing symptoms. Yeah, so before we start saying, I can't remember where I put my keys, or I can't remember what I had for for breakfast this morning. It's so much more than that. But, those changes are happening in the brain. So if we're really focusing on prevention, before we even get to the age of 45, then we can cut our risk by about 40%.
Wow. Mm-hmm. That's wild. Well, you maybe just answered the question, my last question for you. So, Libby, it might be you. I was going to say, what's one thing you wish more Iowans understood about Alzheimer's or dementia, and what they can do to make a difference? Or maybe it could be a misconception. It could also be Well,
I think Erica really hit the nail on the head. You have this, I think a lot of Iowans and even beyond have this misconception that it only affects the older generation, 65 and up. But my dad was diagnosed in his 50s. Right. And unfortunately, I've had quite a few friends whose dads were even younger.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's a lot of dads for me, at least. That's personal. But
yeah.
So, I think there's a lot of misconception around, to your point, Erica, that this really does only affect the older generation, because it can really start creeping in kind of in that
what's old to you,
range.
Right? Really? It's not, it's really not that old.
No, it's not at all.
No.
So yeah, I think that's a big misconception, which is, why I wanted to kind of target this younger generation that is being affected by this.
Thank you for
more
doing
and
that.
more. So I thought it was an important audience to reach.
Yeah. I think if I could add to that, what I would want
absolutely
Iowans to know is that you are not alone, and you don't have to feel like you have to take it all on yourself. Reach out for help and support, because being a caregiver is very stressful. And I always tell caregivers, if you are not taking care of yourself, you can't care very well for the person that you are living with and caring for every day. So really focusing on self-care is important. But I think along with that is knowing that don't feel embarrassed if you have a loved one with memory-related issues, because you're not alone. The stats show that there's 7.2 million people living with Alzheimer's disease. So, utilize the resources, ask for help. Don't think that it's just your problem.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's an excellent point, Erica, is that you really do have to make sure that you're taking time to take care of yourself as well, because if you're not taking care of yourself, then it's hard to show up for somebody else and give them the love and attention that they so deserve. So that's a good point.
Well made. Absolutely. Well, there's 2 amazing events everyone can go and support coming up very, very soon. Yes. So again, August 21st, that's a Thursday, we have the 2025 Hubbell Extreme Charity Golf Classic, and that's going to benefit Alzheimer's Association along with On With Life and Easter Seals, Iowa. We're hoping to set a new record. We're on pace. We still have just a handful of PM foursomes left open. We have some AMs and only 3 sponsorships left at this point in time, which is crazy.
That's great.
We're always accepting, monetary donations of any sort and any size. And another fun thing that we're adding this year is a 50-50 drone drop raffle prize. So it's going to pick up your golf ball and it's going to fly you down the course and it's going to drop your golf ball, and whoever is closest to the hole wins half of that pot. So
I love that.
It's a really easy way
Yeah.
to donate the day of. You can buy tickets all the way up until the day of, but you can also do it right there. Okay. And then, which is, we always want to throw in something fun. We always have professionals who come out and, swing away and things of that nature, but that's a new one for us. So
I will be there.
We would love, anyone and everyone's support on the Golf Classic to make it a record-breaking event. And again, we will check out the show notes for a quick link to get signed up and sponsor today. And then again, Saturday, September 27th, Principal Park, the Walk to End Alzheimer's. Be there.
Yes.
Again, volunteer for a day of slot, or join in another way, or just come
join us for the walk.
Yeah. Just come join. Love that.
Registration always starts at 8 a.m. in the morning.
Okay.
We have a short program from 9 to 9:30, and then we do a 2-mile walk. Okay. Even if someone is not able to walk or doesn't want to walk, you can still sign up to walk with us, have a walk team, fundraise, come and just see all the different vendors and care facilities that are represented as well. Yeah. And it's just, we always tell people we will be done before 11 when your Saturday college football games are starting. So you will not miss your Iowa State, UNI, Drake, whatever football game you're into.
Yes. And I will add on to that. Of course, the Des Moines one is fantastic, our Des Moines Walk, but there have been some years where I haven't been able to join the Des Moines Walk, for example. So I've gone up to Ames for those. Yes. So there are many
all
other
over the
walks
state.
We have 19
are available.
Walks.
We won't make you list them all, even though we know that you can. We know that you possess the capability.
Yeah, she does.
Well, thank you both for being, sharing some vulnerable stories. Again, it's phenomenal to hear your experiences, but also in ways in which we're really trying to get ahead of the curve here on Alzheimer's here in Iowa and, do more for everyone who's impacted by it. And so again, all of the great ways to get involved are going to be in our show notes. And it's really nice and it's really fun to be back on the Dig It podcast and have everyone and start off with some really impactful organizations doing some great things in our community because, at Hubbell, that is like a number one for us. Like we develop, construct and home build and do all the fun management practices, but really at the end of the day, we're like, okay, so what organizations are you involved in? What do you do outside of work? So that's that is a really big push for all of our associates to be doing something that's near and dear to their heart. I told you I was going to hit the microphone at least once. I just waited to the last second to do it. So again, you can find us anywhere that you listen to your podcasts. You also can watch us on YouTube. And if you're going to do either of those things, please, like us, subscribe, follow us. That is the best way to get in contact with us. You can always message us if you want to come on the podcast too, or, have an idea of someone else we should support. But for today, thank you both so much. And really, this one's for Merle, isn't it?
Oh, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Thanks. Dig It, a real estate podcast by Hubbell Realty Company, is produced by Amplify Des Moines. Check us out wherever you get your podcast. Find us on YouTube at Hubbell Realty. Check us out on our website at hubbellrealty.com. And of course, like, subscribe, follow, and share across all social media platforms.